Welcome to the CinemaScope. My name is Joshua Miller. I am your host, and we are going to explore the stories behind the making of classic films, the people responsible for making them, namely actors, directors, other creative people. My love of classic cinema began in 1984. I'm 42 years old, so born in 1980, Southern Illinois. I grew up in Southern Colorado. But anyway, 1984, one of the three networks broadcast The Wizard of Oz, which I watched in black and white, but knew there was this glorious transformation when the music swelled and Dorothy opened the door to her house into Munchkinland. So I was transported to a magical place. And it's my hope that with this channel, which I had hoped to make into a podcast, but cannot figure out how to do the audio part, but perhaps video is good enough and maybe more entertaining. Uh, we can bring you some stories that are interesting. I have some contacts and in LA and have been writing to people and requesting interviews and namely actresses and actors. And I hope to bring those to you. I live in Denver, Colorado. Um, I'm a lover of Hitchcock. Psycho is my favorite film, next to The Birds. I recently saw The Lodger, which is a 1920s silent film with a new score that was recorded at the Alamo Draft House here in Denver. That was very interesting. I thought it was a lost film, but it wasn't. It was the full film, and it's about vigilante justice. It was an excellent, excellent film. So that's pretty much the purpose of this web broadcast, this web channel, this YouTube channel, and you're always welcome to contact me. Uh, uh, and I'll put my email in the description below. It's Miller and Monroe, like Marilyn Monroe. I'm a huge fan of Marilyn Monroe. A huge fan. In fact, I have a story about falling asleep on a couch that once belonged to Marilyn Monroe and not discovering that it was hers until about 5 years later. It was owned by the president of Marilyn Remembered, uh, who is a man named Greg Schreiner, and I'm hoping to get Greg on here for an interview because he's such a fantastic man. He collects Hollywood memorabilia, mostly costumes. He puts on shows. He's a pianist. He teaches piano. He lives in LA. He's one of the kindest, dearest men I've ever known. What happened was, I'll share the story real quick, even though this is an introductory episode. We were at his home for a luncheon after Marilyn's memorial service, which they hold each year on August 5th at the Westwood Cemetery, where her funeral was held in 1962. And I fell asleep, like post food coma, on this couch in his living room. And it was covered in uh, kind of a gold velvet. And no one in my group, which was a separate sub uh, fan group of Marilyn, woke me up to tell me that they were leaving in the van, which I kind of I still don't appreciate to this day. But, it is what it is. I mean, people were doing their own thing, I guess. I'm awakened by Greg, and he says, Josh, your people have left, but don't worry. I have a small dinner party planned for about 3 people, and I'm going to include you, make dinner for you, and drive you to tonight's event, which included photographer Douglas Kirkland, who photographed Marilyn in 1961 on a bed, which he shot from a ladder among sheets. And so and it was held at the Max Factory Museum, so it was very, very close to where my hotel was. So I got home okay. And since then, in fact, Greg and I talked on the phone today, which is the 28th of January, 2022. Um, we were discussing a letter that I had received from a music producer that I wrote a thank you to months ago. And yesterday, or 2 days ago, in my mailbox, this response letter came from this man, and I had totally forgotten, among moving and all the craziness about it, had forgotten that I'd written to him, and it just had his initials on it. And when I opened it, I was like, "Oh, yeah, that's right, I wrote you." What a dear, dear man, to um, be elderly, be very active in your entertainment field, and to take the time to reach out to a fan of Whitney Houston. It was Clive Davis, okay? He discovered Whitney Houston. And thank me for writing him a letter of gratitude for making Whitney Houston a part of the soundtrack of my life. And so I was just really touched by this letter. And so I wrote him a response letter. As a professional photographer myself and an artist, I wrote to him and I said, you know, I talked a little bit about Whitney and my grief around her death, and stuff like that, which I still carry a little bit. Uh, for me, for certain reasons, it's personal, but I won't go into a whole lot of that right now because it is personal. Um, but I also shared with him my Instagram portfolio of my photographs, which I'm growing by doing pro bono work here in Denver of just shooting anybody I can find that's willing to be, a model. And I will tell you, the last roll of film I got back was from a guy that I knew for 4 years, that I dated for about a month around Christmas. And in 29 years of doing portrait photography since I was 12 or 13 years old, I have never caught anything like this on film before. The homoeroticism and and this kind of ties into Hollywood history a little bit. The homoeroticism and the seduction that he carried out to his audience uh, through the film was powerful. I, I took some of the best frames, about 5 of them. There were more than that. I shot 36 on. Oops, I dropped my phone. On Ektachrome, I shot on Ektachrome E100. I love to shoot slide film. I just prefer it. The color rendition is much better than most negative film. I shoot film for creative reasons. I was just blown away by this, and so I had to share this with people, and I got responses from people like, "It looks like he was seducing more than the camera," So we see this in Hollywood. We see this in Hollywood. We see this in gay actors, and Tony Perkins in Psycho. Tony Perkins in real life was a gay man who fought off his homosexuality for years through therapy, and married a woman, had 2 children. She ended up dying on one of the hijacked planes on 9/11, which was a terrible tragedy. That was the worst day of my life. Um, Lost a friend's daughter on Flight 93. Um, but back to the channel. If anybody has any ideas what they would like to hear about from classic Hollywood, the making of any specific film, the backstory, any specific actor or actress, um, anything like that, please share it with me. Please email me. Share a little bit about yourself. I'm always interested in people's stories. I'm here for you to provide information as a published writer, also, to inform you and to entertain you and to interact with you. So I want this to be fun for you. I don't want this to be a boring history lesson where we read from the textbook and then in 1961 this happened. And all of this kind of came about because I saw the remake of West Side Story, and I saw one of the most powerful films I have seen in a long time. I was suddenly hit by this feeling during the balcony scene, as it's known, where Tony and Maria are singing tonight to each other, um, after they've met at the dance, and he tracks her down, stalks her. No, I'm just kidding. And he finds her, and they sing tonight together. And I was sitting in the theater thinking, I was so disillusioned as a gay man at 42 about love. And I thought, my God, true love between two people does exist in this world. I'm a single man. I honestly have a lot going on in my life right now as a post-COVID survivor. I'm a long hauler. I had two strokes from COVID. This was in December and January and February of 2020 in Florida, before there was a vaccine. And at first, I thought I was just going to be tired and have a runny nose and make it through it. My roommate got uh, hospitalized with pneumonia from it, as did our best friend, Amanda. And her husband had the symptoms I had, the runny nose, the cold like symptoms, the tiredness. And I ended up with the blood clots, the strokes, you know. But I don't complain about these things. I don't let them stop me. I was looking through a photograph book. Bert Stern, the photographer, he did a photograph shoot for Vogue magazine that was to be of Marilyn Monroe, very close to the time of her death. I don't know the dates, and I should, especially for a podcast like this. Um, he shot her elegantly. He shot her nude. He shot her casually. George Barris, her friend, also went and bought Pucci outfits for her. Pucci originally designed for ski wear, but they went on to do more casual women's wear. And so George knew Marilyn's size by telephone and bought her these outfits, and he shot her at a film executive's house in the hills of Los Angeles. And I thought, I have this ability to photograph people and capture their emotions, so I can do this too. I can make this into a career. And just with my love of cinema and my love of film and my love of history, mostly it's been American history, the presidency, the White House, first ladies, this sort of thing, and autograph collecting. Um, I thought, why not hone it in and do classic Hollywood? Another influence was Feud, Betty and Joan, the Ryan Murphy miniseries. I really applaud Ryan Murphy because he allowed Jessica Lange to bring Joan Crawford to life, which Faye Dunaway was not allowed to do with Mommy Dearest. It was just a parody, kabuki theater, as Faye Dunaway herself has called it, with the no more wire hangers, the white cold cream makeup with the red lipstick. Um, but I think when we get down, producer David Brown was originally supposed to. He did Jaws, and he was supposed to do Marilyn's last film, Something's Got to Give, which she never finished, but she filmed parts of, including the first nude scene by a skinny dip scene by a major American actress. So the film still exists of that, and what a performance! What a performance! And when she got fired for not showing up because she was physically sick, she was mentally ill, she was addicted to drugs, she was dealing with a lot of stuff. But Fox was just interested in getting money out of her to pay bills on Cleopatra because it was bankrupting the company. And it ended up being a piece of crap film anyway, with Elizabeth Taylor. And when Elizabeth Taylor saw the finished product, she went to the bathroom and threw up. That was 1963. So this is 62. So David Brown said in a 2001 uh, documentary on Something's Got to Give, in Hollywood, the myth far outweighs the legend. So, uh, was that the quote? Or the myth far outweighs the fact? Perhaps that was what it was. So I'd like to bring in the facts, for us to learn more about the truth behind you know, these films and these people's lives. And, I'm having trouble coming up with an introductory, episode. I thought about doing one on the CinemaScope process itself, but I thought perhaps that's a little too dry and a little too technical. I mean, it was the first commercially successful, widely distributed, easily adaptable, just by screwing on a lens to a regular projector, um, widescreen process to get people up from in front of their televisions back into the theaters in 1953 by 20th Century Fox using something that was developed in the 20s, and then just improved upon. But I think if you guys want to hear about that, I'm happy to do an episode on that. But I want to hear your feedback, so please email me. Again, I'm Josh Miller. I'm happy to be here. Um, if you have any questions about me, um, I tend to be a private person. I will answer questions in general, but there are limits that I think there should be with anybody. Boundaries are healthy. Um, and like I say, I do a lot of photography. I've got a camera right now that I'm sending in to have repaired. It's a 1951 Recoflex. It's twin lens reflex. It's a medium format camera, so you get a square negative, 12 exposures on 120 millimeter film. So you get a bigger image with more resolution on your film. I choose films, creative decision. It is expensive, but to me, it looks prettier than digital. Digital looks too clean, too pristine, and I like it to look analog, and I like it to look soft and beautiful. So, if you have any questions for me, send them, and if you have any ideas for an introductory episode, let me know. If I don't hear anything from anybody, I will go ahead and come up with something in the next week. I'm going to try to do Saturday or Sunday. I'll decide on one. Probably Saturdays. Probably Saturday will be my recording day. As I learn the software and everything. So I don't do a whole lot of editing. I'm pretty natural in front of the camera, I guess. So, I grew up in community theater, and I was in ballet, a lot of choir in church and things like that. Uh, so I'm not afraid of being in front of people at all. I welcome you to the CinemaScope. I just want us all to have a lot of fun. Okay? Let's take this thing and roll.